Mason Trent vanished without a trace near a sculpture that wasn't supposed to exist. Sierra Dunn was next, her tent sealed from the inside, her fire hoop left untouched. By the time 5 people had disappeared, it was too late to ignore the truth. Something hidden beneath Burning Man's dust was watching and taking. Burning Man 2019 welcomed over 70,000 people to the Black Rock Desert, where dust storms, towering fire sculptures, and surreal costumes transformed the landscape into a dreamlike chaos. Among the crowd was Mason Trent, a 34-year-old tech executive from Seattle attending for the first time. He had arrived with a small group of friends, but quickly wandered off to explore solo. Mason wasn't the type to party recklessly. He'd come for the art, the culture, and the promise of stepping outside his rigid digital life. On the third night, just after sunset, Mason was last seen riding his bike toward the outer edges of the playa, near an ominous metal sculpture simply called the Watcher. He never came back. His bike was found the next morning, half buried in a mound of dust. His belongings were untouched. Volunteers from his camp searched the surrounding area, but found no footprints, no drag marks, no signs of struggle. They flagged down the Black Rock Rangers, who noted the case but didn't treat it as an emergency. Mason was an adult. People at Burning Man disappeared for hours, even days. It was part of the experience. Still, his friends filed a missing persons report with the Bureau of Land Management, who held jurisdiction over the event. Nothing came of it. Around that same time, an unregistered RV was seen driving off the grid, near the deep perimeter, an area not typically traveled at night. Witnesses said it had its lights off and its windows blacked out. A few attendees camping nearby reported a strange odor drifting on the wind, something chemical, sharp, and rotten. Security checkpoints were minimal that year, and the RV wasn't stopped or searched. By the next morning, it was gone, leaving no trace. In the days that followed, word of Mason's disappearance started to circulate through message boards and community forums. Many believed he had simply gotten lost in the desert. Some assumed drugs played a role, but those who knew him insisted it didn't add up. He was careful, sober, and had no history of instability. A few veteran burners noted something eerily familiar about the situation. They recalled a similar case from a few years earlier, someone who had vanished near a sculpture that wasn't listed on any official Burning Man map. And yet, nobody could remember who that person was. 2 days after Mason's disappearance, the mood at Burning Man shifted. People were still dancing, building, and burning, but a quiet unease had started to spread. Then, on the 5th night, another person went missing. Her name was Sierra Dunn, a 26-year-old fire performer from Oakland who had been a regular attendee for years. Her presence at the festival was usually impossible to miss: bright red hair, intricate flame tattoos, and a signature fire hoop performance that always drew large crowds. But this year, her routine never happened. Her campmates woke up to find her bed empty, her tent zipped from the inside, and her hoop abandoned beside a pile of untouched water bottles. Just like Mason, Sierra was last seen walking in the direction of the Watcher. Unlike most sculptures at the event, there were no signs explaining its meaning or artist. It was tall, crude, and made of industrial-grade metal that looked out of place among the carefully crafted installations. Some joked it looked more like a radio tower or surveillance device than a piece of art. And still, no one could remember when it had arrived. Sierra's friends immediately reported her missing to festival organizers and posted on Reddit. The post gained traction within hours. That's when mentions of something called Camp Ash started appearing in the comments. Supposedly, it was an unofficial, unregistered camp that sat far beyond the established ring of theme camps. Some said it was just a myth, a legend created by longtime burners to scare first-timers. But others claimed they had seen it: no music, no lights, just a black canvas tent surrounded by stakes and ash circles. A burner who went by the name Dusty42 claimed to have stumbled near Camp Ash while looking for a lost art car. He posted that he saw masked figures around a small fire, dragging what looked like a body wrapped in cloth. Within 2 hours, his account was deleted, along with every comment he had ever made. Others who discussed Camp Ash said they received anonymous messages warning them to stop posting. A few even said their phones started glitching or turning off completely when they typed Camp Ash. Despite the growing speculation, Burning Man organizers remained silent. They released a vague statement urging attendees not to spread fear or disrupt the community's balance. But among the dust, music, and flames, a new tension had settled in. Something wasn't right, and more people were beginning to notice. By the seventh day of Burning Man, the disappearances had reached 5. Each victim shared eerie similarities: last seen alone, near the watcher, and never found. Panic began to bubble beneath the surface, though most attendees tried to stay focused on the event's final days. The playa, usually a haven of radical self-expression and unity, had turned into a maze of unanswered questions. But one detail changed everything. A drone pilot named Kieran, who had brought his equipment to capture aerial footage of the art installations, accidentally uncovered something disturbing. Flying his drone over the area around the watcher, Kieran spotted an unusual pattern in the sand, what looked like a spiral-shaped arrangement of shallow mounds stretching out behind the sculpture. When he zoomed in, he noticed jagged shapes poking out of the dust. At first, he thought they were debris or broken art pieces. But as the drone got closer, the grainy camera revealed something unmistakable: bones, some human-sized, others smaller. He uploaded the footage to a private forum of fellow drone enthusiasts, unsure of what he had found. The next morning, Kieran returned to the site with a GPS marker, but the spiral was gone. The area had been bulldozed flat. The sand had been swept clean. There were no bones, no mounds, just flat, featureless dust. He asked nearby camps if they had seen any heavy equipment, but no one had. He posted about the experience on social media. Within minutes, his post was removed. Then, his drone account was suspended without explanation. Meanwhile, independent investigators trying to trace the origins of the watcher came up empty. The sculpture had no artist credit, no installation number, and wasn't listed in the festival's official art guide. Even stranger, it had no power source or maintenance record. A former Burning Man volunteer revealed in a whistleblower email that the sculpture was never part of the approved setup. It had simply appeared, bolted deep into the ground with industrial anchors, and no crew had ever been seen working on it. One longtime attendee recalled a similar object that had briefly appeared in 2016, also unlisted and also placed in the outer rim. That year, someone had gone missing too. The case had been chalked up to dehydration and wandering, but now, with 5 new disappearances and a sculpture that seemed to defy explanation, people started wondering if someone was orchestrating more than just art. In 2020, Burning Man was canceled due to the global pandemic. The desert remained empty for the first time in decades, but satellite images taken during the off-season revealed something strange. In late September, when the playa should have been deserted, a cluster of large vehicles appeared near the same coordinates where the watcher had once stood. There were no festivals, no permits, no artists, just black transport trucks, unmarked trailers, and a fleet of white vans. They arrived under the cover of darkness and were gone by morning. Amateur satellite sleuths tracked the movements and traced several of the trucks to shell companies registered in offshore tax havens. Attempts to identify ownership led to digital dead ends. 1 year later, an independent journalist named Dana Lowell began investigating the case. She had covered fringe culture events before, but was drawn to the inconsistencies surrounding the 2019 disappearances. Dana tracked down former volunteers, staff medics, and drone pilots. Most were reluctant to talk. One ex-medic, speaking anonymously, admitted she treated a woman in 2019 who showed up at the festival's emergency tent with severe rope burns and ash in her lungs. The woman claimed she had been held underground for nearly 2 days. She begged to be taken to Reno immediately, but organizers, according to the medic, insisted she be kept on site for observation. The woman vanished the next morning. Dana's investigation took a sharp turn when she received an unmarked envelope at her office in San Francisco. Inside was a flash drive with time-stamped footage. It showed masked figures entering a hatch near the base of the Watcher sculpture. The hatch had been hidden beneath the sand and opened like a trapdoor. The video, though grainy and dark, showed at least 4 individuals descending into the opening. At the bottom was a metallic hallway, industrial in design, with walls scorched black. At the end of the footage, a steel door came into view. On it was a single word etched in rusted letters: return. Within days of receiving the drive, Dana noticed someone had accessed her apartment. Nothing valuable was stolen. Only her personal hard drives were missing. She booked a flight to Nevada to follow up with a source, but she never boarded. Her car was later discovered abandoned near Black Rock with no signs of struggle. Scratched into the windshield was one word: witness. The investigation was never picked up by any major outlet. The story was buried, just like everything else in the desert. Burning Man resumed in 2021 under strict health protocols, with fewer attendees and tighter regulations. Yet, the atmosphere felt different, tense, quieter, watchful. The Watcher sculpture was gone, erased from both the physical landscape and the festival's archives. But a faint circular mark in the dust still remained, visible only from high above. New installations were deliberately placed in a ring around it, as if to distract or conceal. Though no new disappearances were officially reported that year, strange events quietly returned to the playa. Several attendees reported waking up far from their camps with no memory of how they got there. One man claimed to have woken up buried up to his neck in sand, surrounded by scorched feathers and a half-melted candle. Another found her tent ransacked, with a single word scrawled across the inside wall in black ash: "Stay." All incidents were brushed off by organizers as drug-induced confusion or desert hallucinations. But those who had been coming to Burning Man for years said they'd never seen anything like it. A few art cars broke down near the old coordinates of the Watcher, despite having been fully serviced just days before. One crew reported a powerful magnetism that disrupted their GPS and caused their compasses to spin uncontrollably. They left the area and didn't return. Festival staff were tight-lipped, offering no comment and refusing media interviews. In the weeks following the event, a short clip surfaced online. It showed what appeared to be new satellite footage, dated just days after the festival ended. In the exact center of the playa, a perfect triangle of burned earth had appeared, symmetrical, blackened, and untouched by tire tracks or footprints. The video spread quickly, but was soon flagged and taken down across platforms. Only screen recordings survived. The journalist Dana Lowell, presumed missing, was declared legally dead by the end of that year. Her name became a quiet whisper among fringe investigators who had followed her work. Independent bloggers tried to revisit the story, but their posts were shadow banned, their websites hacked, or their files corrupted. To this day, there is no mention of the Watcher in Burning Man's official records. Camp Ash remains unlisted. The missing are not acknowledged. Yet each year, anonymous emails resurface with coordinates, satellite images, and cryptic warnings. And still, thousands return to the desert, drawn by the fire, the music, and the promise of transformation, unaware of what waits just beneath the dust.